What is up, everyone? I'm Danny.
And
Oh, that was awkward. Let's try again. What's up, everyone? I'm Danny.
Marcy.
And Robert, and welcome to
Let's Talk Theater, the podcast.
So today, I was realizing that there's one huge thing that we cannot do thanks to this pandemic. Well, we can, but we can't like.
I think I know
be
where you're
safe
going with
about
this.
it. Like,
I
miss traveling.
Oh, traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
No, yeah. We were big travel. We were all big travelers.
I mean,
right?
okay, I'm not gonna lie. I went to Vegas because of a wedding, but I wouldn't have gone.
Yeah, I refused to see him. I was like, "You're gonna go? Don't talk to me for 2 weeks."
Yeah.
I mean, it's the right thing.
Yeah,
to do,
I wouldn't
right?
have gone, but it was my best friend,
I will
and
not see
I
him.
felt very obligated. And I went, and I'm fine, thank you, Jesus. But
Nothing happened.
it was kind of scary.
How was that process? Like, is it just more intense because you're like, I don't know
Yeah.
about
I have not
y'all,
gone anywhere
but I
at
hate
all.
going through the
Honestly,
airport. Like, I hate that process of going.
Yeah, if I can
like,
avoid a plane, I will.
I'm not gonna lie, they're not doing anything to keep you safe about
So
it.
it's really just
Wow.
like
So
it's just
up to
pretty
you
much,
if you
yeah.
want to risk it.
Wow.
I mean, they're gonna give you a little like hand sanitizer wipe at the beginning of your
mask.
flight, and then a mask.
Tell you to keep your mask
and
on.
then yeah, that's pretty much it.
Wow.
Like,
And then
they
you have
won't-
those people that you'll be seeing these videos of like people that refuse to wear it on
Yeah.
the plane, and like
Oh.
they have to like fight these people to like
Or
make
they
sure they put it
or they're
on.
like snacking on something so that like they have their mask down, you know, and it's like, oh, well, I'm eating, and
Yeah.
it's like.
I mean, if I didn't like traveling on
yeah.
planes before,
Yeah.
it's gonna be much worse now.
I
Best
do
thing
miss
to do
traveling,
is
though.
just carry your hand sanitizer, leave your mask on, and just call it a day, you know,
Yeah.
because and just hope that you're not sitting next to someone that's coughing and stuff.
How was Vegas?
It was interesting. Like, I've never been.
Oh wow, that was your
So,
first time.
that
Have you
was-
been to Vegas?
I've been there a couple times. I hate it.
Really? I mean, nobody loves Vegas.
I don't know. There's
Like,
quite a few people that I've seen that like love Vegas and they go off.
But like for 3 days,
Yeah.
like I don't
Yeah,
know
the
anyone
first
that's
time I
there
went-
for like a week.
The first time I went for 6 days, and after the second day,
Something
we
wrong
found
with
out that was way too much. And halfway through the week, we're just like, what do we do?
Yeah, it's.
And we just kind of wandered around for another 4 days and
Wow.
until we finally left. Yeah.
Yeah.
So from then on, I was like, okay, this is like a 2-day, 3-day tops kind of place.
I guess this time that I went didn't seem to like, because there was like an agenda for like
That's
some
true.
of the
yeah.
days.
If you have something
because
specific that you're doing.
there was a wedding and like we had to get ready early and then we had to drive to the destination and then like we had to drive back. It was like this whole thing.
I think you need to go with a purpose. Like, I want to see these shows. I want to experience, because there's a lot of cool things like, you know, that skydiving place,
Yeah.
but that's like the indoor skydiving places there,
Yeah.
you know, and like interesting things like that you wouldn't normally find in other
Yeah.
places. But if you're, I mean, I think the kind of people that love it are people who like to gamble and who like to drink.
Yeah.
I don't like either of those things, so it's not really a place for me. So I understand. I mean, other people love it because of those things.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't because of those things.
Yeah.
But it is a good place to go watch really good shows
Yes.
and to eat really good
Food.
food.
Yeah.
That
Food
is like
the food was good. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie on that.
Yeah, the
That
food's
was good.
amazing.
And the cool thing was that, well, I don't know if it was cool or not, but you had to reserve to get to any restaurant. So like you
Proper.
had to call ahead and you had to make sure that they had a table for you and they would give you a time for you to be there. And like honestly, I kind of liked it.
yeah, we were talking about this the other day. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm kind of enjoying the fact that you have to reserve to do all these things now. And I'm like, I feel like that should be a thing forever. You know,
Yeah, and
reserving.
you avoid lines,
Yeah.
and you avoid
Yeah.
people waiting, and you avoid people getting angry,
Yeah,
and like, and if
exactly.
you don't have space, then you just say, sorry, there's no time, come tomorrow.
another time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty amazing, because like, why make somebody upset for waiting in a restaurant when you could have just said, hey, sorry, but I can't right now,
Yeah.
you know?
Anyway.
I don't know. But
So
anyways,
Vegas, yeah, traveling.
Vegas, traveling.
so I couldn't see a show.
Well, yeah, because there's
There,
you're not supposed to.
which was that was the one thing that I
there
really
anything
wanted.
going on?
No,
No.
it was
Nothing
just
at all.
casinos and like one-man shows.
Oh, and
but it
that's
was
safe,
just
like a bunch of machines, like with people
Yeah.
touching them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Really good.
Hand sanitizer.
Hand sanitizer.
Walk with it.
Right.
Yeah. But it was fun. Like I really, really wanted to see a Cirque show. I've never seen a Cirque show
Aw.
myself. So that's where like when in theory, when
I've
I
actually
want
never
it.
seen one either, like live.
I got to see one here when they came, I forget the name of the one that came to the Valley, but I went with my mom and it was my first one, and it was a short one, but like I was so like impressed with just some of these, like there is.
How do you do this?
Yes, like physically,
Yeah.
right? Like there was a man and a woman that like just became one.
That sounds
Like, okay,
Tilted.
come on, not like that.
So
I mean,
superhuman.
like, yeah, like I mean, like body strength wise, like they would like lift each other up and then just like become like, you know, like one tall. Like, it was just, I was just so blown away by that. I mean, amongst all the other things
Yeah,
of Cirque,
it's
like the lights and the costumes and their stories and how they like make everything happen, but that to me was like, whoa, like we're so powerful as human beings. Like, dang.
Yeah, I don't think I've never seen one, so
not live. Yeah.
not live.
Like, I mean, sure, clips and stuff on YouTube, but
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of like the thing that I wanted to do when I did go to Vegas was experience the shows. I mean, come on, theater person, you know?
Yeah.
Like, fuck, sorry. Casinos, yeah. I don't like them.
I don't like them either. They're not that fun. I don't know why people think they're fun.
Yeah,
From the
exactly.
back, I am so sad for you. I lived there 3 years. I don't like drinking or gambling either. I think I played blackjack 2 times. in 3 years.
Wow.
But the shows.
Yeah.
I saw Mystere. I
Ooh.
saw and they're expensive, but like
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I don't want to spend this much money. And
Yeah.
you sit down and you get this performance,
It's an experience.
and you're like, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
I feel for you.
I mean, like, I guess this kind of brings us to our guest
Yes,
today.
it does.
His name is Gio Salinas, and he comes to us from down the street as well, from Magpie.
Everyone's down the street. from us.
Let's give a hand for Gio.
Yay! Hello. Good to see you, Gio. How are you?
Good. How are you, Danny?
I'm good.
I miss you guys.
We
Wow.
haven't seen him in like
A long
since
time.
2011. Did you see him in 2011
So
or a little later?
2011 was You're in Town
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
2012 was Spring Awakening, and that's when I met you.
Yeah.
Oh, so I-
2012.
then we-
That's when I met him.
2012 was Spring Awakening.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my like introduction into theater because I didn't do theater in high school. I think all you guys did theater, right?
Yeah.
In high school.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I just did show choir. Similar.
It's kind of like theater.
Yeah. But, yeah, and that just changed everything for me.
Changed my
like,
life.
It did. I met so many people, and I just got to learn so much about like not just being on stage, but like seeing everyone take on a role, like the costumes and the
Yeah,
set.
I
and-
think You're in Town was the last show that I worked with Gio.
You didn't do
'Cause-
anything for Spring Awakening?
No.
No.
No,
but,
I left, dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like a little after.
I think, that was around the time that like we were all at points in our lives where
Transitioning.
everyone was going off in
Uh-huh.
different directions.
Because that's when Brisa and Tay also took
Start to
off
split,
Yeah, they
for a while. That's when they officially took off
With
for
13.
a while.
No,
with 13
that
o'clock.
was 13 o'clock. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
13
It was
o'clock.
2012.
Well,
Spring Awakening was 2012. Yeah.
So that means I was already done with my master.
Yeah, you were done with
you
your
were
master's.
Yeah.
I was
done.
already here.
you were
yeah,
here.
you were here.
Yeah.
You were here, March, because I mean, like, right after Spring Awakening, that
You came
following,
here.
yeah, that following, I was going to school here, but I was undecided.
Right,
like, I
yeah.
didn't know what to do.
And then somebody told me, hey, that girl from Spring Awakening is at STC, and I messaged you, I think, and I
Yeah.
was like, hey, you should.
That was fun.
Join.
And then Frog and Toad.
Yeah.
And then,
Frog and Toady.
Frog and Toad.
yeah, that was here. That was fun. But yeah. I mean,
It's been a while.
been a
So what have you been up to?
yes, tell us.
Well, so I graduated from UT Pan Am in the last class of Pan Am in 2015.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then so during my summers, I'd gotten this cool scholarship to go to this school in Las Vegas called Stagecraft Institute of Las Vegas.
Oh, so you got
That's
to live in Las Vegas for then here we were just like
I got to spend a couple of summers there before I eventually would move there full time.
Nice.
But when I graduated, I went to go work for the Walt Disney Company in Orlando, Florida
How
for a
was
couple of
that?
years. That was a lot of fun. It was
Yeah?
definitely a lot of fun, and it was definitely a different experience working in theme park, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Theme park entertainment's very different than live theater entertainment.
I know. Tell us.
So what's
like,
like just one
What's- yeah,
difference,
one
or like
difference.
one or
Oh,
two
the biggest
differences,
difference.
big differences?
Well, I think the biggest difference is that when we're studying theater and we're doing theater in schools, we're constantly working on the next production, right?
Yeah.
We sometimes do 6, 7 show seasons.
Yeah.
When you go to theme parks, they don't want you. They don't need someone to do all the
6,
creative
7.
stuff and whatnot. What they need people to do is run the same show the same way
wow.
every
And it
single
never
day.
changes, right?
Huh?
It hardly ever changes.
And it hardly ever changes, especially in Orlando.
Yeah.
Wow.
Disneyland runs a little differently because the model is different. But in Disney World, when you have 90% of your base of customers is one-time
Yeah.
shoppers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They're only ever going to come
true.
once.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you run the same show every day for 10 years.
Wow.
You're right. I didn't think of that. That
Yeah.
the difference between Disney World and Disneyland is that Disneyland is visited by regulars, right? More often than
Disneyland
not.
is visited by regulars,
And then
exactly,
Disney
Californians.
World is the one, yeah, because I only went one time and I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
I don't,
Yeah.
right? I don't really want to come back here.
Yeah, I went once too, and it was like 15 years ago.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll probably go again, and I'll see the same show, and I'd be like, oh my God, it's different.
I don't even go for the shows though. I go for
Yeah,
like,
I mean, honestly,
rides.
you'll be like, "Oh wow, this wasn't here before," and then sure enough, it was.
Yeah.
It was
probably
just like
won't.
over there.
And like, so what kind of like jobs did you have, or like what was it like? I don't know. I've just always been interested in those like internships, or just like doing
Working
that,
there and
working
stuff.
there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I did several things. One of the cool things about working at Epcot, which is my home park,
Wow.
is that we rotate a lot.
one
We
was
get to
awesome.
do a lot of different things there. So I ended up starting off as an audio technician, believe it or not, which these people know I don't do audio.
Yeah.
I do lighting.
Lighting, yeah.
But they needed an audio technician at the time. So I started off doing audio for a rock concert that just shows up every hour randomly,
And
you
prior
think
to that, did you have audio experience at least? or
very
just
little
minimum?
educational, but
See?
Yeah.
Going back
Not
to
like
still
experience, just
knowing.
I
Back
learned in
into
school,
putting
but I didn't get to
yourself
practice.
into,
Okay.
yeah.
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That's funny that you say Epcot real quick because this one's like that was my favorite. Like
Yeah.
it's usually you hear people say that Epcot is their least favorite. I actually really like
I like
Epcot
Epcot
too.
too,
I really
yeah.
loved it. Actually,
Yeah.
it was like my favorite one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, is it because we're nerdy?
Yeah,
It's like the
probably.
nerd. It's like the nerd
There's
part.
I like
it has a special magic,
It
right?
does.
Yeah.
It's informational.
Yeah.
It was the last. It was the
educational.
last like big project that Walt worked on before he passed away.
Oh, wow.
And it was a very. I don't know if you know this, but it was a very different idea originally.
Yeah.
What was
It
it?
wasn't supposed to be a theme park. It was supposed to be a community. It was supposed to be a town.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that why
so-
there's those little towns all the way around, or what? Or what?
Not exactly, no.
Oh, okay.
But there's a ride in Magic Kingdom, different park, that actually shows you pass by Walt's model that he built of what Epcot was supposed to be. So Epcot is a what is it? An anagram, right? When every
Yeah.
letter means a different
Yes,
word,
yeah.
right? English is not my topic. But Epcot stands for the Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow.
Oh.
Right? So,
That's why.
and what it was meant to be was this community where Disney cast members would live, and then they would take the monorail to work every day at the
Wow.
Magic Kingdom. But at this community, at this prototype community, it was supposed to be sponsored by companies like Siemens and next gen companies that were sponsoring the future, and it was supposed to be literally a prototype community. It was supposed to be this cooperation between these companies that were building technology of the future to be able to test their equipment with cast members
Wow.
That's insane.
and then eventually launch it to the world.
Wow.
And it was when he passed away that the Imagineers at the time said, this was Walt's vision and it doesn't feel right to go forward with it without Walt. So they came up with keeping Epcot the name, but transforming it into a very different park with a very different storyline.
Yeah.
Oh, that is interesting.
Damn.
Wow.
So-
The
That was the
more
one that
you
had the
know.
most like memorable rides for me or like experiences, because sometimes they're not rides, they're kind of just like an experience, you know.
Sure.
Because there was that one with it was like, I think Ellen DeGeneres was like the host of it,
Oh,
along with
yeah,
Bill
yeah.
Nye, right? And it took you through like
Yeah.
like back in time during like the dinosaurs and like a specific like eras and stuff. That was amazing. And then wasn't also that one the one with the big giant screen and you would fly on like a hang glider?
Yes.
Same park. Yeah.
Yes, same park, right?
Yeah.
And then the ride inside the freaking ball.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there was a ride inside the freaking ball when I got there. That was amazing. But anyway, yeah.
Oh my
So then Disney.
So yeah, no, I mean, so I did audio first, and then eventually worked my way into lighting, and went to a different concert stage that was actually doing concerts, and so I got to do some really fun lead follow spot concerts on people like. Oh my gosh, the Village People. Yeah, the Village People, that's a very fun show. I did not expect them to do the things that they did. The Village People, Shaka Khan.
And these were the original artists?
Yeah, like the actual people.
The
like,
actual people?
Yeah,
Oh my
would come
God.
to Epcot and they
would perform?
they perform. There's a big stage over there. It's
That's
an outdoor
interesting.
stage, and
Because like, these are all very much older people, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so they were
Yeah.
still out there.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I
they
think
gotta like
Gotta make
get
money
the
somehow,
adults
right?
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that. I got to work with robotics, and I got to open the Baymax meet and greet experience.
Cool.
And I opened that venue, and I wrote all the paperwork for that. That was a lot of fun. Wow.
Sounds like a lot of work, too.
People can go meet Baymax. Well, not anymore. They closed it, but at the time.
That's cool.
And then lighting crew chief for marathons. We do a lot of marathons at the parks, so I got to do that, and I ended my career there doing two things. One, I started working with a program called Youth Education Series that specializes in using the park as its classroom.
Ooh.
So I would lead a 2-hour class, but during that class we would go on Test Track, Mission Space, and Spaceship Earth, which is the ride inside the ball. And we would lead them through what we call the evolution of technology, using these rides as
Examples. and stuff.
examples.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool.
So I did that, and then I also ended my career with fireworks, doing illuminations, reflections of Earth.
Cool. That's pretty awesome.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And then I know. Well, what happened after that? I know there was this big old thing you did too.
Well, immediately after that, I went and worked for sales in Las Vegas. I did equipment sales for a year, but I wasn't really happy with that. So during that time, I ended up getting a job at the Palazzo Hotel and Casino, running follow spot for a 90-minute theatrical show called Baz, a musical tour de force. And so Baz is a musical by For the Record Entertainment. And it takes us through 4 Baz Luhrmann movies as a musical.
Okay.
So you get the Moulin Rouge, Romeo and Juliet, The Great Gatsby, and Strictly Ballroom, which people don't necessarily always know about.
I've never heard of that one.
That's an older movie.
That's a much older movie.
I think it's one of his
Yeah.
first
Big
ones.
ballroom.
And so you got these 4 movies put together in a 90-minute musical.
Wow.
That's
at the
cool.
Palazzo.
That's
It was a
really
lot of fun. A lot of fun. And then sadly we got our closing notice. As professional entertainment you do, like sometimes you just get that, you walk into the theater one day and it's up there on the board saying, ladies and gentlemen, this show will close on such and such date. But luckily immediately after, I'd say months before that, I had applied for Cirque du Soleil, and I hadn't heard anything from them. And immediately after they post the closing notice, like 2 days later, I got a call from Cirque.
That's really like, that's
How
a sign from the
exciting.
universe. Like, hey.
It was
know.
it was so serendipitous.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and then Cirque was just like 2 days later. It was hey, can you interview with us? With our one of our people from Montreal. And so it was like, okay, yeah. And then they're like, okay, but can you do it in tomorrow? And I went, sure. And then so the next day at the interview, and then by the end of the interview, he's like, okay, great. I'm going to send you some paperwork about the show. And so that way you can start learning about the show. But we'll let you know if you get it in a couple of days. And I was like, I was so taken aback by that. I was like, why would you be giving me any information
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
if you're not going to hire me? But then less than 24 hours later, he called me back and was like, okay, great, you got the job.
Nice.
Ooh, that's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah.
Congrats for that past.
That past experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it ended up becoming 2 years of working with a division of Cirque du Soleil called Events and Experiences, where we do Events and Experiences does all the smaller Cirque shows that aren't in a big top or in an arena or at a hotel.
Okay.
Right? So like when I say that, I mean Events and Experiences takes care of like whenever Cirque du Soleil performs at the Super Bowl, if they do stuff over at like any of the talent shows like America's Got Talent, they've been there.
Okay.
That's Events and Experiences. There's some smaller shows around the world that pop up for like a couple of months and then go down that not a lot of people know about. Events and Experience takes care of that. And our latest project has been this project called Cirque du Soleil at Sea, where we've partnered with MSC Cruises in order to put Cirque du Soleil shows on a cruise ship.
Nice.
And so I got to spend the last 2 years doing that. And then COVID hit.
Of course.
And everything shut down. But luckily, I feel so serendipitous about all my timeline. It just landed at a perfect time where McAllen High School, which is the shirt I'm wearing right now, they were looking for a new technical director, and it just serendipitously found my way there.
That's awesome.
And now we're today. That's the past 5 years.
Well, that's a lot of work that you've been doing. That's
Yeah.
amazing, though. Like working.
Experience. I
Yeah,
mean,
working in Vegas, working with Cirque, doing all these little like tours and like teaching and like that's pretty awesome. That's amazing. And what I was thinking about, because I went on a cruise ship, right? And I went and
Right before, right?
like maybe
couple
like
months
half
before.
a year before like
COVID, yeah.
pandemic.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I experienced the whole cruise ship thing, and I saw this show that they were doing, and like, it was semi like Cirque-ish. It wasn't necessarily like.
It's like a knockoff.
Yeah, where like they were just singing songs, like famous music, famous songs, and like some of them would just be like singing and doing flips and doing like stuff like that, very
Sure.
acrobatic and stuff, right? So that day that I went to see it, the sea was like rather like not
Choppy.
stable, you know?
Yeah.
So like half of the things that they were doing were like, it was just like half-assed, you know? I would say half-assed, just
They're
because
probably all
like
seasick at the
yeah, just because like some of them had to be like latched onto harnesses
Oh,
to be able to do
no.
things, but like how do you flip when the boat's like this and you have to go that way? You know what I
So
mean?
you can
Like-
literally
No.
feel.
oh yes,
And
you
like,
can
what
feel.
is,
You
what
can
is
feel.
a theater like in a ship? Like what? You know what I mean? Like I can't. I don't know why my
Like,
mind
I'm sure they're very
can't-
restrictive and very, like, you know, there's not enough.
I mean, I feel like it's this big.
I would say,
Really?
yeah, so like,
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
uh-huh.
I
was
I've
gonna
never
say the
been on
same.
a ship
Yeah.
like that big ever.
Yeah.
Like,
And literally, there's no backstage space. I think we have the same amount of backstage space,
I would
and
say
then
the same.
wow.
and then they probably have like a back room with like stuff.
But then they
But-
also have several.
but
I
we're on a
tried to
boat.
sneak into
But
one.
we're on Can I
And you know
see?
me, I was
I'm a
just
theater
kind of like,
person.
you
I'm a
know,
theater
like,
professional. Will you let me in?
peeking
Is that what you were
and
doing?
like stuff like that. But I just saw the wings. I couldn't go backstage.
I would be so interested.
I
know,
tried
wonder if you
really
could
hard
ask,
to make
like,
a friend.
hey,
All right.
You know, this is my job, but somewhere else. Could I
I just-
get a tour?
I tried.
You tried? And
I
you
was
said
trying
no?
to make a friend. It didn't let me.
You only make friends with the bartenders. 'cause, you
Well,
know,
I mean, if I wasn't at the theater, I was at the bar.
I don't care about anything else except for theater and
The
being in the
alchemy,
bar.
and the alchemy bar. So yes, but it was great. It was a great experience though, and like I don't know how these guys do it because like the balance they need. Like it's literally like harder, I feel, to perform in a ship at sea because of all of these like
I already
elements that
have
are working
issues
against
here.
you. Yeah, people can barely walk.
Yeah, no.
I mean, on a carpet.
On a carpet, I don't.
You know,
I
like
couldn't.
so. Yeah, it's difficult, but it was cool. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was a
I've never
cool
been
experience.
on a cruise. I wanted to go. I've been wanting to go for years, and I was finally actually like looking at tickets, and then COVID hit, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
oh well.
Well, I'll wait 3 years.
Wait 3 years. 3 years. Oh man.
So, Mac High.
Yeah, how has it been for you?
It's been a learning experience for everyone, right?
Of course.
You had some knowledge in like working with kids though, right?
Some knowledge in working with kids, right? Especially with Disney and doing like what did we call it? Or theater for young audiences when I was at Pan Am, right?
yeah.
Oh,
Under
that's
Brian
right.
Warren, right? Did all those shows. So some experiences there. I think one of the biggest things I'm trying to figure out is learning to teach theater. It's a very different aspect,
It is.
right?
It is very different.
When I come from producing theater and operating theater, right? I'm okay doing the same show 500 times in a row. That's the environment I've come from, right? And so when I'm on a show and I'm leaving the show, I train someone to replace me, but I don't ever expect to have to educate them.
Yeah.
I
Because they
train
already
them.
know how to necessarily use
They
it.
should.
They should.
They
Right.
should.
They should.
To be clear here, they should. There's been times. Gosh.
What happens? They slip through professionals
But
areas.
yeah, no, in theory, they should already have the education, right? So I shouldn't have to teach them stage left versus stage right, or I shouldn't have to be able to. I shouldn't have to simplify any of my terminology
Right.
as I'm training them because they should already know it. And if they don't, they should be able to understand all the context clues and Google whatever they need to later. But education is just not that. It's constantly having to, for me at least right now, is constantly teaching something, realizing that they didn't understand a word I said, and went, oh.
Yeah.
And for some cases, it's like I get my first practice run of teaching a lesson my first period, and then it's not by fifth period. It's not until fifth period that I go, okay, now I know
Now
how
I
to
got
teach
it.
this
Yeah.
lesson.
No, yeah.
Well, now I
totally
need to
get that.
reteach first period
Yeah. So they can
the
get
next day.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
It's like kind of having to learn a language, you know, another language. It's like because it's hard to like translate what you know into a lesson or like communicating it to someone
Into words.
into words and like
Yeah.
a way that somebody would understand that doesn't do it or does not have any experience. And it took me a long time when I started here. It was the same problem. I was like, I don't know. I know how to do what I do, but I don't know how to tell you how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of like a weird like, oh, it's a feeling. You know, I know how it feels to do
Yeah.
it, but I don't know how to tell you. Like,
Just go like this.
you gotta have to feel it, you know? 'Cause I feel like, especially with our area, it becomes a feeling, and it just kind of becomes like a, I don't know if it's a muscle memory or just like a,
To an
it's
extent,
yeah,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
And
it
it's hard
does.
to it's like, I feel like it's kind of like where you down, like, you translate information, it gets into you, then you learn it, but then on your way out, if you want to teach it to somebody else, you have to, you know, translate it to get out
To them,
Yeah.
and
To
for
them,
them,
Yeah.
for them,
understand.
For
and
that
it's
person.
very
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
But I feel like with the high school, it's like 75% instruction, 25% action, and I think here is at least like we get to do 50-50.
Well, because they're older here.
'Cause they're
too,
older,
you
yeah.
know?
Sure.
The younger they get, like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like, I haven't seen the kids at All Star in a while, so I myself, for someone that doesn't like I'm not a teacher like you guys where it's every day, you know, like, so getting in front of them again is kind of worrying me because I've lost that sense of being a teacher, right? And being like, you know, teaching them like.
It takes a long time to learn to speak to them again. And I really do miss being in the classroom, honestly. And I kind of hate.
I know, because that's what I was going to get at. What a time for you to become a teacher.
Did you go straight into virtual?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Dang.
God.
Yeah, so like I honestly I don't know what 90% of my students look like.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, and
then they don't even know about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean in reality,
like,
we haven't really had talks or whatnot. We jumped straight into topics. I told him a little bit about my. Oh, I'm sorry. I told him a little bit about my experience, but it's not.
To them, it's like.
It's like.
To that, and even things like Cirque du Soleil, it doesn't carry any power with them because they don't.
They don't really know what it is.
Anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I've had the privilege of seeing. I saw every Cirque show in Vegas except for 2.
Wow.
Elvis. I didn't see Elvis because it closed before I got there.
Oof.
And Nouvelle Experience, which was the very first ever Cirque show in Vegas.
Oh, wow.
I never saw those 2, but I've had the privilege of seeing all the others. And I saw Kidam when it came down here. Ages ago in like 2012.
That was probably the one I saw.
Okay, so yeah, I heard you talking about you saw
That's
a
probably
show.
the one I saw.
Was it in like 2012, 13?
And it was in an arena.
And it was in the
Was it
arena
the
in
Bird Ogden
Hidalgo.
Arena?
Yeah.
No, wait. The one down there.
The
that changes names
one
every 5
wherever
years.
south.
That's the one.
Well, it's just
Yeah.
whoever
That's the
sponsors it
one.
that
Yeah,
year.
it's whoever's sponsoring that year. Because what is it now? State Farm? No.
I don't even know.
I don't even know.
One of the
I'm not
one of the
sure. They must
dealerships.
change
Is it?
I think because Bird Ogden built their arena, I think Payne.
Oh,
it's Payne.
It
Yeah.
is pain. You're right.
You're
Remember when it was the
Right.
Dodge Arena?
Yeah, I remember.
actually,
Yeah, the Dodge
I
Arena.
freaking worked as a janitor at the Dodge Arena back in
wow,
like my
Marcy.
early college, like before I even started college, I think. Yeah.
Wow,
It was one of those where like if you're on call and only for events, and I worked
with the
only
killer
2
bees.
days. I did. I worked a football
Pay me
game.
in t-shirts.
But the other one, I was really lucky. I got to work the Donna Summer concert. And I got to clean I was cleaning the audience while she was doing sound check. And I
How's
witnessed
that?
her yelling at a
I'm so
backup
jealous.
singer. She was literally like, "What the was that?"
So
I was like, "Oh
jealous.
my God, this is amazing." I was like,
Donna.
You tell her, Donna Summers.
Tell her.
Oh,
what's funny is that I ran into my orchestra teacher from high school. He was playing in her band
Oh, wow.
as with the violin. I was
Wow.
like, we were both like, "What do you do? What are you doing
Yeah.
here? What's going on?" So I guess
Wow.
people, when they come down, they hire locals to like
Yeah,
fill in for
absolutely.
bands and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Absolutely.
"That's freaking cool."
That's funny.
Anyway, yeah, working in arenas. Have you guys ever like worked at any of those places?
No.
Like, but I was a
Not-
fucking janitor. Sorry.
No, no,
Not working in an arena, no.
no, not at all.
I don't think they're very fun. They're probably not very fun to work in an arena.
That-
Yeah.
Because I don't think you have constant work either. Because I think you just get paid when you go for an event. Right?
Yeah, you're
Right.
mostly on call
And
unless you
then
have like
going
a box
COVID or
office
people.
position.
Yeah.
I think the
There
box
you go,
office
yeah.
probably
Those are
works.
or any like
often.
office that deals
Sure.
with that stuff. But yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So then you started working at Mac High, pandemic struck, and you've been teaching during this whole pandemic.
What have you guys been up to there?
Yeah.
Have you guys tried to do anything?
is there
any
any
productions
like,
at all?
yeah, or are you guys just gonna do waiting on like OneAct? Because I know
Waiting
that
for
thing
Godot.
He doesn't come. Don't
Just walk
wait.
in. No, he never comes.
Don't
Just stop.
wait.
Go away.
Just don't do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I got the job in June, and at that time we were like totally, everything was still shut down and
Yeah,
whatnot. And then we started teaching in August, but we did get the go-ahead to start anything virtually for varsity events, right? So the thing is that, and this is not just McAllen, it's all school districts, there's a lot of school districts that wanted football
Of course.
right? Wanted to still be involved in
All
UIL
of
football.
America.
And so,
Still
yeah.
did it, right? They still had like a
Football
Yes.
season.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
There's
100%.
still games going on.
Yeah,
and, the
and no
NBA.
masks.
No.
That's
and
ridiculous.
cl-
How come they're
like,
allowed to do
it-
that?
Because it's the
football
money.
NFL.
Because it's
Marcy.
football.
No, I was talking about like the high schools. They
Oh,
did
the high
they did
schools.
football seasons, didn't they?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
That's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
didn't you hear about the, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but the Edinburgh high school football player?
The one that
Oh,
beat
yeah.
up the ref or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened this last
This
football
last
season.
Oh my
That was
god.
so unnecessary. Oh my god.
COVID.
Not cool.
Just saying.
But anyway.
Oh, it like made him go crazy.
Yeah.
I've been at home. I don't know.
He tackled him.
Yeah.
He just knocked him.
repressed energy
How dare you?
and anger. Yeah. Anyway.
But
Pretty much what it was.
yeah, no, they absolutely. So they wanted to do the football season, and thankfully, thankfully for fine arts, I guess, our superintendent of McAllen, he's very much like, well, if we're gonna allow athletics to do it, then we're gonna allow fine arts to do it.
Good.
So we got the go ahead to allow for varsity fine arts, just not in person at the time when we started. Okay. And so we ended up starting what we called prime theater training.
Okay.
And so we cast, I think I want to say like 28 students in this group of elite training, I guess. But what we did was we studied 3 shows during that time. We studied a show called Everybody, which is a modern adaptation of Every Man.
Yeah.
We studied a show called Borderline, which is a new show, and it's set in El Paso, Texas, and it's about these kids who are physically on the border, and they're trying to like reach out to their father who's been deported. That's a really powerful show. And then we studied this other show called Jelly Beans, which is a brand new show written by a grad student who lives in New York. And it's this really like fun TYA performance of a kid who creates an app to access our old memories, our memories that are hidden.
Oh,
in,
nice.
Very Black
in the
Mirror,
subconscious.
but happy.
Yeah, very, very happy. And like his sister ends up playing with the app, and she gets like lost in the app and lost in her mind and her
Interesting.
subconscious.
That's
So
interesting.
they have to dive in and fight the virus. And
See, I know I've been noticing that there's a lot of like new plays that involve like lots of like technology like that. For me, I don't know if like a live theater show, for me personally, I don't like when they're taking like topics like that kind of technology, because I feel like that's better for a medium like TV shows or film.
sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know how that translates live. And I know it can be done, but
Right.
I don't know. I'm still not sold on the idea of doing topics that are very highly in like
Verse,
What?
what in the
Dave Da
universe.
Vinci saves the universe.
That's a little different though.
That is a little
That's
different. That was a good show.
Because it was
Also
like
on the stage.
Yeah,
Yes.
sci-fi, but with the emotional topic was very, very heavy.
Yeah.
You know?
I see.
But that's a great show. I forgot about that show. I love that show. I feel like we should do it again. It's just very hard because you need 2 guys who look the same.
The exact same.
Or
Yeah.
if you can find twins that can act, you know?
Yeah.
But that was such a great show. You were part of that show, right?
Yeah.
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 Were you part of that too? That was-
No, because I was doing Dark Sonnets
Dark
over
Son-
on the, in the
you
block
were-
out.
Oh,
You were
yeah,
so-
you were just
you
right.
were over
you were
there.
right
Here,
on
I
the
was
other
just
side
on
of
the
wall.
outside.
So we were all doing 13 o'clock theater.
Yeah.
Just like you were in that show.
Yeah.
We were in this show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Yep.
I worked for Dave Da Vinci and you did,
Dark Sonnets.
Dark Sonnets.
Yeah.
Those are both really amazing shows.
Yeah, they were.
They're such good shows.
Yeah.
They were
That was
done
a good
well, but they
time.
were also.
That
It
was
was
a
a
good
good time. It was.
That era.
There was a lot of quality theater being put out in those, like, what is it, like the
2-3 years.
2009, 2010,
Yeah.
2011, 12, like,
Yeah.
Definitely. hmm
it's so sad.
So back to Jelly Bean. right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Jelly Beans. So what we ended up doing, there came a point where the school district allowed us to meet in person if we were socially distanced and we're wearing masks. And so we ended up, everyone who was allowed, all the students who were allowed to come to campus by their parents, we ended up holding rehearsals outside. And we did a bunch of like outdoor theater stuff using the scripts of Everybody and Borderline.
Cool.
And then the kids who weren't, we let them stay at home, and we produced jelly beans as a virtual play.
Oh, cool.
And so we released it in 6 episodes,
Nice.
kind of like the way that you all did Medea.
on
Yeah.
YouTube. Ooh. Was that through YouTube so we can share that?
Yeah, send us the
Yeah,
link
send
so
us
we can
links.
share that.
So we only had, because it's a brand new
Oh,
show.
it's a show. That's right. We
right?
forget that.
Yeah,
and that's our
it's not
problem,
in
too.
public. It's not
We're
in
like,
public
yes,
domain.
Yes, we can't
So-
do
I
that.
forgot
That's
that.
a lot of, like, you know, we've been,
We do sometimes forget about that.
Going
Like, wait, we can't do
virtual,
that
right?
because it's
But
copyright
there's a
or
lot
Right.
now that
rights.
We're on a thin line there.
Yeah.
goes. Be smart, you know, we can't.
So stick to classics if you want to do that. That's why we've been doing like classics
Adaptation,
Yeah.
or original
Sure.
stuff.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about that stuff. Because we did find out about a couple shows, right? They were like, "Can you do this virtually?" Yes.
Yeah,
no,
there
blah,
are a
blah, blah.
lot of
There are a few
playwrights that are allowing,
Yeah.
and some desperate ones that keep.
I'm sure- I
like,
mean, but-
emailing.
Emails.
No offense,
How
but
did you
Oh,
get
like,
these
can you do
emails?
it? You want to do
Yeah.
a play?
I don't know how I got on these lists.
yeah, like how did
You're like,
you
I've
find
been
us?
on for 4 months at this job, and how did you get my email?
They call you on your
I'm
cell
like,
phone.
I think we even got one to like the Gmail account that I had created for us, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this isn't even an email that
They
we're
probably
really-
just searched for like any email that had the word like theater in it, or
Yeah.
like you know,
Yeah, totally.
I didn't know that was a thing.
send it to
though.
all of them.
I think it's gonna soon become the new what is it?
Telemarketing calls.
No, the car insurance.
Yes!
We're
Oh my
calling to let you know
God.
your
Play.
expiring car insurance. I get like I don't know what. Okay, I was just telling Jason Barrera, who's the other director at Mackay, and I was like, I don't know whose database got hacked, but I'm getting like 5 or 6 of those spam calls a day.
That's so
I have
weird
no-
because
you too?
he's getting
To your cell phone or to your
To my
work
cell phone.
Oh
he's
no,
getting into
mine's
his
my
work
work
phone.
phone.
What?
Yeah.
Who is using like a local
Yeah.
landline number?
Yeah. I have like
like-
5 calls a day of like randos, and I'm like, what?
It's like insurance stuff, right? And
Yeah,
like that
and like
kinda,
loans, and
It's
like,
like, I
and
don't
I'm like,
have loans.
I don't have loans.
You're calling a school.
Yeah. That's what
Do
I-
you want loans?
That's
we
what I-
can get you loans.
Yeah, that's what I told him. I was like, you're calling a school, like,
Jesus.
checking your Medicare. What? Anyways,
Anyway.
so what's up with you guys on OneAct? What's the deal with that? What is the? I know there's like a lot of things happening with all of that. What are you guys doing with that?
Yeah, so so right now the push is that UIO OneAct is still going to happen.
Okay.
And what so the thing is UIO is being they're very how should I put it? They're making decisions, but they're intentionally leaving some things vague and up to the specific school district.
Okay.
Right? So it allows for some flexibility of school districts. However, there's also flexibility of the school that is hosting the contest, in that that district is now allowed to create additional rules and guidelines. So, for example, there's some districts in Texas that they're saying, okay, yeah, we're hosting at this site. However, all shows need to remain 6 feet apart. Actors need to remain 6 feet apart.
I would feel like UIL should be the one saying like, let's do this, but you gotta follow all these, because that's throwing like another wrench in there. Like, hey, let's make this a competition. Let's make it interesting. Keep within the guidelines, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. So UIL has specified a cloth covering over the mouth,
Okay.
right? So it doesn't have to be a surgical grade mask. It doesn't have to be the KN95, but you have to have a cloth mask over your face. But other things like blocking restrictions and stuff like that, it's kind of left up to the districts at this point. And there's a lot of directors who are fighting about this across the state, who are like, well, no one can tell me how to direct. And then they just go, well, then you just can't come do your show at our school, in which case you forfeit the contest. So there's things like that. There's other things like, there's some schools who may say like, hey, you have to do a rapid COVID test before entering the school. And there's even some schools who are saying like, if one person, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. if one person, I'll give the little cut for Danny to cut the audio.
There you go, Danny.
That's perfect.
He knows. He knows.
Yeah, he gets it.
He's got it. He got it.
There's some schools who are saying that if one person in your team tests positive, could mean that everyone else tests negative, but if one person tests positive, then that's an automatic forfeiture.
I mean, it sucks, but it's, you kind of have to do. You have to do that. Yeah.
So there's a lot of directors who are just up in the air about like,
That.
why are we even doing this if that's going to be the case? Like, we come to the school that day, we've worked for 4 months to produce this show,
nope.
and then all of a sudden they say, nope, you can't come in. And
But that's the risk you got to take if you really want to do this.
exactly.
It's a choice at this point, you know.
So yeah, and then some schools are already pulling out. Like,
They're not.
I won't say which school of our contest is already pulled out, but there is at least one school who said, "Hey, we're not going to compete this year."
Right.
And honestly, there was a point there where Mac High, specifically Mac High, was looking to our district and considering not doing OneAct if it meant spending more time on a larger musical, right? If it meant that, like, oh, hey, maybe we'll be fine in April, so like maybe because the vaccine rollout and whatnot is happening, and so maybe we'll be fine for a big musical in April. So maybe instead of doing OneAct that only allows for 20 students to participate, we do a really large musical at the very end of the year. And I think what we ended up deciding on is we're now doing OneAct, but we're also going to produce a concert version of the Addams Family
Okay.
How?
in May.
That's a good idea to like kind of, you know, still be able to do a show,
Yeah.
concert,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, and have them separate and they're
Yeah.
all at their mics, right? Because I've seen some performances of stuff where it's literally just like the
Well,
concert.
it's just
version.
that idea that we were talking about too. It's just bringing back the
Like the radio-
radio plays.
And but actually seeing
And
the
actually
actors
seeing
and,
the
like, Foley
actors,
artists and stuff.
seeing
Yeah.
the sound,
'Cause
seeing
there's
the
a lot of
Foley
ways to go
artists.
around these things. People just don't want to like take the time to sit down and
Or
think
just
about it.
go take a step back to
Take a step
an
back, yeah.
older procedure.
Yeah,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean? Like that just, okay, fine, you're gonna take a little bit more time. We gotta dust out those mics and bring out, like, you know, but hey, you can still do it.
You can still do it. There's ways around it, but
There's so many
That's pretty
different
awesome, though.
yeah.
forms of
concert versions and
entertainment,
stuff.
and I think we as theater artists can sometimes just get we do something the same way for so many years,
yeah.
and it's just difficult. It goes back to the same way of like when we were talking about teaching.
Yeah.
You go to
Yeah.
you produce and you work and you know you get to this point where you've done shows in a certain way for the past 10 years, and now all of a sudden you have to teach someone who's back at your step zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had to put yourself back in that mindset of
Yeah.
where are they.
That's true.
So yeah, and it was actually pretty cool because we applied for the rights and we made the note of saying, hey, we are going to do this as a concert version, right? Because at the time they didn't actually have a concert version up. It was the Addams Family Musical, it was the Addams Family Musical School Edition, and that was it. And then
I'm
just
assuming
yesterday,
the concert is like a mashup of the songs, not necessarily like.
I think it's kind of like doing like radio play style where everybody stands at microphones, right?
yeah, everyone stands at microphones.
And you still go through the whole script, right? You're just at microphones.
Oh, okay.
You add microphones.
Good to
You
know.
can be socially distant. You don't have to block as much, right? In my head, we see the choir up on risers
Yes.
behind. Maybe we see a small band on stage.
Cool. That
Yeah.
sounds fun.
It's basically a radio play version of a musical.
Of a musical, yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do
perfect.
that. But for OneAct, we've landed on this brand new show. We're actually gonna be the world premiere.
Look at you.
First performance. There's another college in the States that wants to produce the show, but they're not going to produce it till next year. So they were going to be the world premiere, and then we found the script, and we're like, we want to do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's a show. It's a show called A Decameron for the Apocalypse, which some people may know. The Decameron is is an old book by Giovanni Boccaccio.
Yeah.
And it's about people who are hiding out in this small town in Florence, or out of Florence, Italy, hiding from the plague. And over the course of 10 days, there's these 10 people who each tell 10 stories. And so they have all these stories in this giant book. So this is a modern adaptation of these kids who are in the midst of an apocalyptic event that is unknown what it is. But they go and hide in the basement of a library.
That's an interesting.
And they tell stories in order to pass the time.
Cool.
See, that's what we've been
How-
like. We
how
need to go-
suiting.
Yeah, you need to go back. We need to go back and search for these old. There's so many interesting, really old stories, and people need to start digging. Like, I've heard the name Decameron, but I've never actually read it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's just an old ass story. Like, there's a lot of other stories like that.
Yeah.
You know, that could be done, and people are not
Thinking about it.
thinking about it, or like going back to dig. You know. And that's
Yeah,
what people
there's a
need to
lot
do.
of lost stories.
Yeah.
And I think people are, okay, so the thing now is like we are either searching for new things, new fun stuff, like that's like
Very fresh.
very fresh and abstract, or
Very old things.
those old things
are
that
like
we're
that
like pulling
in-between.
out of the
Instead of the in-between where we
shelves and
usually
like
lie,
going,
you know.
yeah.
That's I think those are the best things to do right
And
now.
twisting them,
Yeah.
you know, because it's possible. All those stories are happening now. It's just that we haven't given them the time to actually express them and explain them and produce them.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah,
That's really interesting. That's nice.
it's crazy. Well, I mean, I hope that everything goes well with that. I know we've had other teachers come and talk to us about their OneAct experience
Sure.
and what they're doing and stuff like that. And you know, they're all about the same as what you've said. You know, they're scared. They don't
Yeah.
know what's up, but they're gonna do it.
gonna
You
try it,
know,
yeah.
and they're gonna try it out and see what happens, and whether or not wherever it is that they get, how far they get, and what can you do? You know, like you can't.
I think at this point, it can't, you know, it's not about the competition anymore.
Yeah.
No.
It's about
just
the process, and it
the
should always be about the
and
process
the
and
kids, you know?
experiencing it.
Yeah, I think the sad part about that, if we do say that, and this is the only thing that I would say, like, is it's not that anymore, is that the kids won't even be able to see other schools' performances.
And that's a big part of the whole
The learning
Yeah.
experience.
is seeing other people and not also like, because I feel like that would feed more into the whole competition thing because they didn't even see somebody else and they're already like, you know what, there's already that like.
Now, however, does that help too? Because like sometimes seeing other shows, you feel intimidated, and
That's
then
true.
you have to produce afterwards.
Oh, well, I
You
think
know,
that's
like
why, like,
so.
yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But I also think that's why, like, a lot of directors don't let their students go watch shows that happen before.
Yeah.
Yeah, before.
In the timeline, right, of that day. If you're the third show up, you're not gonna watch the first two shows.
You'll watch the last
You'll
whatever.
watch the last one of the last two.
Yeah.
Because it's what you should do. Because it's such a like mind, it's
Yeah.
a head game, and if
Yeah.
you all of a sudden your mood changes, it totally like can throw you off.
Yeah, totally. That's true. I mean, I hope it all goes well with UIL and OneAct. I mean, it's
Yeah, and
it's
Nell's
a huge
concert
thing
idea,
for
that's
us to
awesome.
for us
Danny's
here.
like running down. Thanks. The only reason we're doing this is to get ideas from gathering intel. You know.
And tomorrow there's gonna be a poster. Addams Family Musical.
We're doing all the things that everybody came and
The
told us
week
about.
right before yours.
Yeah, that's right before. Somehow we're doing everybody's
We're
like
gonna have a
ideas.
choir, a little band.
Oh.
Oh man. So let's go to one of our final questions here, Gio.
Okay.
What do you think the future of theater is?
Man, that's a loaded question.
I know.
It can be in any aspect.
Yeah.
Of course,
know?
yeah. No, honestly, I have this really strong belief that we are on a trajectory path for live entertainment that is immersive, right?
Yeah.
Immersive experiential entertainment. This is why companies like Meow Wolf out of Santa Fe are thriving right now, right? Meow Wolf if we don't know who they are,
Yeah,
they're
let's see.
a immersive entertainment facility, I guess. They started off as a group of artists who just wanted a space to produce their art. And so they got like 10 artists together, and they each pitched in a small amount of money in order to rent out a larger warehouse. And so the thing was that you either, every month you have to pay this like $100 and you get a section of this warehouse, otherwise they're gonna find another artist. Well, that ended up growing to this one big immersive art experience.
Yeah, it's like an art installation, but like you walk through it. Like, I mean, you've seen the pictures.
Oh.
Have you seen that dryer that opens and it's like a
And it's
portal
a
and you
slide.
go through it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are popping up a lot. Like I went to one in Austin, but it's like maybe a miniature version of that.
Yeah,
Sure,
this one is
maybe.
like
And there's a bunch
big,
like art
huge-
installations, like lights, and
Yeah.
there's,
Yeah,
you know,
TVs and,
yeah,
and
like,
things like that.
Yeah, the last time I
Wow.
was in Santa Fe, I was like, oh crap, it's right here. But
Yeah.
I looked it up, and it's not good for people who are overweight or old or have issues like moving around, because some of the art installations, to get through them, look at that dryer.
Yeah,
It's-
you have to be able to slide.
yeah,
to that
so I was
dryer.
reading reviews because obviously, and I was even bigger back then, so I was like, I don't know if I can
Yeah.
do this because I don't want to pay, and then I'm
Right.
like stuck in some freaking art installation, and like they have to come get me out. So it's one of those, like, you kind of have to take a risk,
Yeah.
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 because I did look at some of the stuff, and it's like intense. Some
like
of the things you have.
immersive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow.
Some of the things you have to do are like, whoa, I don't know if I can
Let's turn
bend
the
that
black
way,
box into that.
So like Meow Wolf they started off in Santa Fe, and now they have their facility in Santa Fe. They have one in Denver, and they're building one in Las Vegas.
Whoa.
So like they're thriving.
Wow.
I also saw this amazing show when I was living in Orlando by a theater company called Pseudonym Productions. And they did this show called When Shadows Fall. And in the same kind of facet, they rented out a warehouse. They built their whole set within this warehouse. But the whole thing was you came in and you were an inducted member into this hidden society. And so you got assigned
Wow.
a role within their caste system. And
That's cool.
the whole show was based out of audience members who are actively in this space. You're not ever sitting down, right? You're in this space, you're going around this warehouse, going to these different events. I don't even call them scenes, I call them events. And you're going around to all these different events, and you make choices all the time. You and your team, who you're in that same cast with, you make choices.
intense.
And those choices branch the story off into different directions.
So it's like whatever you witness, you get to witness based on your choices.
Yeah, exactly. And so the story had like the spider web of different options of what it could become, because like it's not just your choices in your cast, it's also dependent on what everyone else is making choices in their own cast. And then so it's like things like, hey, they're gonna catch me, I hid my drugs over there, you need to go find them and you need to go plant them over on these people. And then so you're running, you're looking for the drugs, and you find
Where is
the
this?
vial, and then somebody now you have to go over here and you have to go plant them there, but you're told like, don't let this person see you.
Oh my.
And then like sometimes you can get caught, sometimes you don't. Sometimes a trap door opens, and because the timing worked out from another people's choices that they were gonna come open this trap door, pull you in, and give you a whole different route.
Wow.
It just was like I went twice because I could play in 2 different cast systems, and the story is different every time.
Wow.
It's kind of like those escape rooms, except with actors and a much deeper
Sounds
storyline.
so
Yeah.
much more immersive.
I mean, we
though.
forget also about those escape rooms of being like, that's kind of an immersive
Yeah.
theatrical
Yeah.
experience too.
Absolutely.
I know Robert and I
Yeah.
did one
Yeah.
I
by
did one.
ourselves.
Yeah, it was just me and her, but
Really?
we didn't escape.
We did
Because
not.
it was just me and Marcy. There was too many
those
things to
puzzles
do.
were really hard.
There was too many things to
They're
do,
so
and it was just me
Because
and
we
her.
went to Time Masters. Because there's
was
Time
hard.
Masters and then there's Escape Room. And I think Time Masters is very much about puzzles, because I didn't feel like the
I think
puzzles
that's-
had anything to do with anything. They were just puzzles that you had to solve, and they were
Really?
very like those very hard, like heady puzzles.
Was that
like,
one where you're like in the ship?
Yes.
Yes.
And okay, that one I went. We did. It was for work for All Star. We all did it like to like.
But I think it's
bond.
probably suited for a larger group of people because
Maybe,
two
but
people was.
I'm not gonna brag, but I was the one figuring it all out. Like,
I think
you can't. I was
Everyone
pretty
else
good.
was dumb.
I will text Joel. I swear.
It's because to me it didn't,
like,
it
everyone
didn't make
was
sense.
impressed.
Like the route, like the steps that you had to take to get to certain like clues, like they didn't make sense to me. They weren't
made
logical.
sense to me. They
Maybe
made sense
I think
to me.
it's suited for specific people who like think a certain way.
Sure.
I guess I must think a certain way because even Joel was like,
An
"How are you
illogical way."
figuring?" And Emily, at the time when she was in town, she was about to leave. She was part of the company. She had already done it. So she didn't like.
She didn't
She was
tell
like,
you
"I'm not
anything?
gonna say anything. Like, I'm just here."
She was there to
for-"
hang out.
You know. And then,
Yeah.
but like as I was doing stuff, she
I don't
would like
care
look
if we
at me.
escape.
And then I was like, "What?" And she's like, "No, nothing." And then like I'd be like, "Guys, I found." And then be like, "How
The
are
guy
you?"
kept helping us. He's like,
know.
"Look over there." You know how they like can talk over the thing.
I
Yeah.
don't think we ever asked for
Yeah.
help because I don't know.
We
I
didn't
just-
ask.
I-
the
the
guy
guy
just
we
did
didn't
it. He
ask,
just
but the
did
guy
it.
was he
he
even
noticed.
though
And
when
that's
we
hard,
first
just two
started,
people,
when
though.
we
Yeah.
first started, he was just kind of like, geez.
You guys
You know, like
know.
we already knew that we weren't gonna get through it, and he already knew we weren't gonna get through it, so he was.
We
just
got
helping
close
us.
though.
I
did
think
get
we
very-
should go.
But
like,
that's
again, if
well,
that's,
is it
it's
open?
Still
No,
a thing.
I'm not sure.
I want to go to the other one.
Okay.
I'm
Anyway,
down.
but yeah.
Can I come?
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
never been able
let's
to
do
do
it.
one. Yeah.
Honestly, like it really, like I loved it. Like I was like so about it, and I guess that's why I got us out so fast because you put me to, y'all know me.
Yeah.
Like, you put me to do something. Like I want to
Yeah.
figure it
You think
out.
about the weirdest details that are
I
like.
do.
Yeah.
What?
I
Why?
do, and I think that helped because I'd be like, I think it's in that random hole over there by the wood, and like just like
I
random.
saw a hole in the corner.
And I'm
That's
"Oh,
like this
okay,
big.
Danny, sure.
you know?
And then I'd be like, I found the clue. And they're like, oh shit. Like,
Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, I think
So,
that's
yeah,
the future of theater.
ve-
Things
very
like
immersive.
that.
I think immersive entertainment, and I
Yeah.
think especially after COVID, right? People are going to want these experiences that they can get out of their house, do something that's not watch TV.
Yeah.
But even then, it's not even like not sit somewhere and watch something
Yeah.
for a long time,
Yeah.
right? So even like proscenium style theater, like in the space that we're in now, I feel like there's going to be this push away from it purely for the sense that people are going to want to be active
Yeah.
while doing something.
We've had ideas like that, but we never really got to like. Cause,
I mean, maybe-
I've had those ideas like people.
Maybe there'll be more shows like
Yeah.
Rocky Horror, you know, where
Yeah.
you have an
Sure.
entrance and you got a bag, and then you have to be very hands-on
Do
and throwing
things,
things
yeah.
to the
well, that's
audience,
what was
and
fun
like,
about
you know,
B when we did it.
Yeah,
the
'cause
spelling-
same thing
the
spelling bee,
musical.
you know, that it's very, very audience
That was very fun.
participation, you know.
Granted, it was kind of scripted, but still, I mean, you still don't know what those like,
Yeah.
you know, and what an audience member is going to say or do.
Do you guys watch Modern Family? Like, have you seen Modern Family?
Yeah.
There's,
Sure.
there's an episode where Cameron, one of the gay couple,
Yeah.
part of the gay, he takes his husband to watch an immersive theater experience.
Yeah, I think I
And
have seen
he doesn't tell him at first, and when they're there, people start coming up to him like, he's like, hey, remember when we were in high school and blah, blah, and all these people are talking to him. He's like, why are these people talking to me? Like, why are they on
Oh,
name
yeah,
tags?
that's right,
And he's
that's
like,
right.
oh my God, we're at a high school reunion, kind of like those immersive shows like Tony and Tina's Wedding. And he's like, how dare you? Why did you tell me? Like, I don't want to be here. I hate this stuff. Like, this is like the worst thing you could do, like to a person in peacetime or I don't know what. And then they leave and you see like a background couple, like the wife goes, it's interactive, you son of a bitch. Like, they get angry. I don't. And he ends up being one of the people that they like, oh, come up here.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. It's interactive. That was always my favorite.
Yeah, that's true. I think it will be interactive. I think it's going to be very much like get the audience
Yeah.
involved type of thing.
Yeah, we miss the human
Yeah.
interaction, you know.
Yeah.
and
So
we're
it's going to be
lacking that.
more about that. Yeah, totally.
They're gonna want it. Like there's gonna be a huge demand for it, I think, too, because we've been cooped up and not
Yeah.
been able to experience.
And I
anything.
think that theater itself will still also be pushed
Yeah,
more
sure.
because
Yeah,
absolutely.
nobody's seen it for a while, so they're like, I want to go, even
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
you know, like. Anyways, so what about any advice that you could give to any fellow thespians that are rising to come into this career?
Sure. I think one of the biggest things, just as a general topic for all theater humans, is you're gonna get a lot of rejection.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's one of the big things, and that people don't always necessarily understand, especially when coming out of school, because they maybe in their last year of school they were cast in every single production and whatnot. But man, I can't tell you how many times I've sent my resume out to places and didn't even hear back from them, or like heard back months later being like, we're sorry, we decided to go in a different direction. Right. I think for every job I've held, I've probably have maybe like 20 more rejections in my email box. Right. You're just always going to face a lot of rejection, and the advice I can give, if anyone wants to work for companies like Disney or a show in Vegas or Cirque du Soleil, you just have to keep trying, keep applying, keep sending your resume out to people, because you know what, every job that you take is just gonna advance your skills until you're ready for the next job.
Yeah, you're always gonna learn something.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
That's totally true. That's great advice. We just got to be ready to, as a whole, like in this whole like career that we've all seek. No is a big word that's said a lot to us.
Yeah.
And we just got to be okay with it, you know? And it, just because they said no, it doesn't mean that you're bad, or it doesn't mean that you're not good. It just means that you're not appropriate for that position. You know, like.
And sometimes it's whether or not you could be appropriate for the position, but you have to remember that the employer is trying to build a team, right? And they're trying to build the perfect team that they can think of. And so it could be that you are 100% perfect for that position in costuming or lighting, or you're right for that role on stage, but you don't fit in with the rest of the team that they've already built.
Yeah.
And so while you may be number one, because you don't fit into that group, they're gonna go with another option.
Right.
Sometimes it says something as subtle as like the way that you said this, or the way that you
Oh my
did
gosh,
that. You
that
know, that
word.
Or
turned
communication, you know?
Yeah, it's
Can
the way you communicate. Because
how
I know
do
when
you
we've been in auditions,
riff-raff?
like you get people come into audition, and sometimes they're good, but they say something kind of rude or something kind of off-putting, and for me, it's an automatic like, that gives me the impression that you are hard to work with, or that you are, you know,
a certain type of way.
and it's like, no thanks. And like you said, they're good. They were good at acting, whatever, you know. But because you carried yourself in a certain way and you said something that rubbed me the wrong way, I don't want to take the risk of working with you, because then that means I might have trouble later, and I don't want trouble later. And it's sometimes it's subtle as things like that.
Yeah, it's true. It's
And it can also be like, I completely agree, man, because sometimes people just say that one thing,
Yes.
and you're like, okay, I don't want to be around you anymore.
Yes. Yes.
But it could also be what they don't say.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think we've all been in that audition room where someone comes into audition and they don't even say hi.
Yes.
Yeah.
They just like
Stand there.
immediately just start, and we're like,
Okay, well, what's your
Okay.
name?
hi, I'm so-and-so.
What are you reading? Yeah, that's
I get emails
true.
like that from students. They're just like, hey, what do I have to do for this and this and this? And I'm like, hold on. First of all, identify yourself. What class are you in? Because I have 5 different classes.
Yeah.
I don't teach the same class 5 times. Like, I feel sometimes I'm like,
With the same
do you guys
students?
think that professors like teach one topic or like one class, but like 5 times? Because most of the time it's like, there's 5 different courses, and I'm just like, hold on, what are you talking about? What
Which do you think you would prefer? Because I teach the same class 5 times
You teach
in
the
a
same
row.
class 5 times? I don't
And-
know. It would be easier, like more streamlined if it was the same class 5 times in a
Sure.
row. But then that would cause more confusion on who is
Where
in what
and
course.
what.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't like progress
Right.
at the same speed, because some classes are more adept than others, and
Yep.
you know. And so I think it's better to teach different courses. I usually at least teach 2 of the same one, and then the rest are different.
Sure,
Nice.
sure.
So I think that's a good balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, when you
But
teach
5 of
the
the same,
when you
that's-
teach the same course, what makes it different is the kids
The
that
kids,
take
yeah, the
the
people.
course.
Yeah.
So no matter
Yeah.
how like you teach the lesson
Yes.
lesson might change because of the
sometimes
way-
even the way you feel about
those kids
teaching
learn
them words. Because
too,
I've had
you know?
times where I have two of like, let's say intro to theater or intro to cinema, and one class is very like lively and they're like really into it,
Yeah.
and the other class just is not.
Yeah.
You know, and
Doesn't
it
wanna,
makes
like,
me
get involved.
hate the class.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and you also just remember for all college students and even people in high school, whatever, if you're watching, if you hate a professor because they are not giving you the right vibe, sometimes it's you
The
guys.
class.
Yeah. The class,
You guys,
right.
or like the class as a whole, like
Yeah.
it happens. Like if you make them feel like they don't like you don't want to be there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or and then they don't care, and they just kind of like, you know, if you're not giving that. You know, it's
Cool.
kind of like a performance. If
Yes.
the audience is not, we talk about that, right? Oh, the audience isn't good tonight.
Oh,
And then the
man.
actors kind of suffer a little bit in their performance. It's the same thing, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
be
totally.
shitty in class.
Trying to do a comedy with a whole bunch of stoic
Yes!
people in the
Oh,
audience.
they're those,
and
what do you call them? They're the silent laughers where they're just go, you know?
Totally.
Or we got
You're trying to
smilers.
do
What do you
like
call them?
Smilers.
a
Smilers.
large farce like noises off,
Yes!
and then
you don't
everyone's
hear
like,
laughs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, that'd be
I love
awful. Oh, that
I love
just
those audience members that go, ha, you know? I love those. Those guys
feed
are
off
great.
of that. Or like
Those
when
are-
you know when
those are
someone's
the
in the
best ones.
audience,
Yeah.
they're gonna laugh
Those are the best ones.
at Mia Cienfuegos. I love
Oh,
her.
Mia Cienfuegos,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know when that girl's in the
Yes.
audience because of her.
I love you, Mia.
It's usually the
Know
other
that I
theater
love you,
people
and I
because
say
they
that I
know they know that you need that,
Yeah.
so they like go all out, you know.
Yeah.
Totally. Anyways.
Aw.
Like don't sit next to Brian Warren in the audience. So
Oh,
he'll
God.
talk your ear off.
He'll
Brian
talk.
Warren.
Yeah,
Look at
Brian.
that. Did you see that guy?
Yeah.
Oh my god. And then if he's the director, he'll start saying even
Stud.
crazier stuff.
Stud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stud.
Stud.
What?
Look at that
Oh
stud.
god. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the
taught him that.
I know the director. He's a
Yes.
stud.
He's a stud. Yeah.
Oh my god.
What do you think about that?
What do you
Yeah.
think about the show? It's good, right? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
That's a really
Love
good.
you too,
Yeah,
Vaughn.
that's a very good Brian Warren.
That's a really good Brian Warren.
I've spent many years just developing my
Brian Warren
Dude,
accent.
back in the day when we were at Pan Am, I don't know if they still did it while you were there, because I was like right before you.
Yeah.
There was students who would go, like, because we had a class, well, we still have that class, practicum, but in our practicum class, it was just a meeting. You wouldn't do anything. You would just meet up in a large, like, auditorium in the studio, and all the professors would stand up and be like, well, this is going on, we need help here, we need help there, okay, bye. And sometimes they would do, there was this one time where a bunch of students got up there and pretended to be each of the professors. And oh my god, some of those impressions were freaking amazing.
That's
oh my
awesome.
god. I remember Rick Rosales from the library here at SCC.
Nice.
He did an impression of Dr. Wiley, which was amazing. Like, because Dr. Wiley is a very subtle character. And
Yeah,
just the
he
fact that he
is.
was able to like really
Nail
mimic
it.
that, like, because he would always do
Subtlety.
this thing, and, like, yeah, guys. He was very subtle. Like, Dr. Wiley, you're great. I love you. I loved your classes, by the way. But yeah, like just being able to pick up on those subtleties, right? That was great. Like, I feel like, and then you doing those impressions.
Those
And
are
I'm pretty
great.
sure people like Elias and our other students do impressions of us.
It's pretty good.
And then we do
It's
impressions
fine.
of each other.
Yeah, we
and-
do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Anyway, all right, chicks. All right, chicks.
All right.
Well, anyways, let's thank you guys so much for hearing us out and watching this podcast. I know Gio's going to be sending us all these links to Mac High's.
If it's legal.
Yeah.
Yeah, any of Mac High's
I know we follow you on Instagram.
links and
so-
Instagram and Facebook. Just send us all of that good stuff, and it'll be somewhere here in these places. But yeah, like everything, share everything. Thank you for watching. Thank you guys for being supportive to the arts. Please, 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 please keep supporting the arts.
Oh yeah.
So that we can keep giving you things like this podcast. And maybe, hopefully, soon you can come back and actually
Watch
be
a live
sitting on
show.
in these seats and seeing a live show.
Did you guys replace your seats? That guy?
Mackay got a whole.
We got a whole
theater.
No, you can go a whole
yeah.
renovated.
Oh, look at that.
You renovated at
There's a
Mac
lot of
Theater.
theaters being
Renovated.
renovated.
So why not do it right now?
Yeah, so
Did you go to
please
Mac
be ready.
You did.
Be ready. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Guys, stay safe, be well.